name is Peter. I'm the sales coordinator at Fireweed Food Hub, and today we're going to talk about wholesaling to restaurants, and I'm joined by Brent to help us with that.
Hey, I'm Brent, and I'm the chef and co-owner of Harth, Mozza, and Wine Bar.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about Harth itself? Like, how do you describe the restaurant to someone who's never been there before?
Yeah, so we're located in South St. Vital. We're an Italian-based restaurant. We primarily focus on pizza, pasta. One of the kind of unique things about the restaurant is we have a big wood fired oven in the middle, hence the name Harth, which we use for a lot of different cooking aspects, like pizza, and then a lot of our prep aspects. So a lot of our items are actually cooked in wood fire oven. We're about 100 seats. We focus on a seasonal menu. We also have our family menu, which is a pre-fixed set menu that changes every day. Yeah.
What does the menu look like? What do guests see on the menu when they come in?
So our menu is Italian-based. We're really pasta and pizza forward. We try and keep a pretty tight menu that's focused on local, seasonal ingredients, and just trying to get in the best quality product. Our food's really simple, but it's just using quality ingredients and old school Italian techniques.
How does it work as far as planning goes? How many dishes are permanent? How does seasonality play a factor?
So we try and, rotate the menu quite a bit. There are some staple items that have been on since the start that are kind of constantly on there. And then we also have some room on there, or items that we switch out quite a bit. So a lot of that does go into what's fresh, what's available, what's seasonal at that time of year. We also do a daily chef's menu or familia menu, which is a daily kind of evolving prefix menu. And that's really, where we focus on using things that are super ultra seasonal, maybe things that we can't get a lot of. We might just have for the evening or the night, and try and keep that changing and fresh and updated.
So with the prefix menu, that allows you to use some more seasonal or limited availability ingredients?
Yeah, for sure, because that menu is changing daily. So with that, again, it just allows us, if I can only get a super small amount of something, we can focus on that and feature it. Typically that revolving family menu, as we call it, has anywhere from 5 to 6 courses. And yeah, it's just a good variety, and it's a good way to kind of showcase what the restaurant does and what we have available.
Great. Throughout different seasons, how frequently do dishes change out?
Well, they definitely change a lot more, come June and summertime, when the local produce and stuff like that's a lot more readily available. As that stuff starts coming out of the ground, we're pretty excited to get our hands on it and start putting out dishes with it. In the winter, it tends to go to a little more braised items and root vegetables and things like that. We've just found over the last few years that that's kind of what our clientele goes for in the wintertime. And then in the summer, things get a little bit lighter for us and a little bit more fresh and seasonal.
So when you're buying local ingredients, what is important to you?
Well, obviously freshness, kind of knowing where they came from is big for us. Overall, if they're readily available, it's nice. If I can get stuff kind of quick, it's always helpful. It's always nice to be the first guy to gets their hands on something that is ultra seasonal like that. So accessibility is big for us. Yeah.
As far as where ingredients come from, what approach to farming is important to you and for ingredients?
I find for us the customer ultimately kind of dictates what we bring in, because we can bring X, Y, and Z in, but if we can't move it to our customer, then that's kind of where the line draws. So that being said, there's been a huge kind of, over the last few years, interest in the public wanting to know where things come from and wanting to know you know, what's grown where, and again, just where
How-
things
how
are
it's
from,
farmed.
how it's farmed, sustainability of it. Those are all kind of things people are more and more interested in and like conscientious of. Yeah.
Sweet. How is consistency with product like important for working in a restaurant?
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, we need to make sure that like, you know, we're getting things that are at a certain standard, at a certain level, so that, you know, we can pass that along to our guests. Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier is like our food's really simple. You know, we try and like showcase the actual ingredients. So we want to make sure, you know, when we are getting things that, you know, they're consistent with quality, and that could be anywhere from like sizing to, you know, just overall freshness of the product.
Okay. With consistency, so we're talking about like appearance, size, ripeness, or what are the factors?
Yeah, I would say that, and then like also being able to like consistently get like the order filled and not have shorts, things like that. So yeah, that's all kind of things that go into it for us.
Yeah. How do local ingredients compare as far as like flavor goes?
I mean, it's like second to none, right? Like when we're getting stuff that is within, say, 100 kilometers of the restaurant versus, you know, 1,000 miles, you can imagine like the quality is a lot better, things are a lot fresher. Yeah, it's just overall generally a better product.
To understand how you operate as a restaurant, how many days a week are you open? Like, what are the busy days?
So we're open 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. Generally for us, kind of as a rule of thumb, the weekends are our busiest time. So Friday, Saturday, you know, during the winter, colder months. And I find like during the summer, we're a lot busier during the week. So like Tuesday through Thursday. I think a lot of that just has to do with like clientele. In that neighborhood, a lot of them like go away for the weekends and have cabins and stuff like that. So yeah, going into the fall right now, we're definitely like noticing the weekends being a lot busier again. Yeah.
So with that week, with weekends being a little busier, what's like an ideal ordering week for you? Like when are your orders coming in? When are you doing those?
So for us, I guess one of like the unique things for us is like for the size of restaurant we are, we don't really have like freezer capacity at all. And that was just like something that was there from day one, kind of planned into the restaurant, and not having that as just like a crutch to just throw things in there. So it really forces us to like utilize the fridge and kind of get things in for that week and move them out by the end of the week. So typically for us, like our biggest kind of delivery days are Tuesday, Wednesday. And that gives us like some time to process everything and then get ready going into the weekend. And you know, we will like do maybe a top-up delivery or something for Thursday, Friday, but typically like Tuesday, Wednesdays are our big delivery days.
As far as kitchen operations go, you mentioned you don't have a freezer. What's storage look like?
It's tight for us for sure. You know, being a small like independent restaurant, you know, we have a walk-in fridge and stuff like that. But what a week of food for us looks like is a lot, and it's definitely a lot more than the capacity of our fridge. So when we're receiving orders and bringing things in, you know, we're always like breaking down, trying to like downsize stuff and get that put away into the fridge, cleaning stuff like right then and there, you know, so it's ready to go for us in the fridge. It's always a juggling act, but yeah.
So with that processing, like what's prep look like for range of fresh ingredients you're getting?
I mean, depending what it is, some of the stuff we want to get to as fast as we can. Some stuff's a little more forgiving that can, you know, stay in the fridge for a couple days. But typically, like we have a prep crew on site from like 7 in the morning until 5 o'clock when we open. By the time we open, we try and kind of have our prep day done, and we're just kind of focused on dinner service. But we're always working on it.
What's a kitchen crew look like on a typical night?
So typical nights in the back, we're looking at, we probably have like somewhere in the ballpark of like 10 to like 15 staff on. So that can be, you know, including our dishwashers, you know, prep cooks, line cooks, sous chefs, etc. So, yeah.
When you're planning a menu or looking at adding a new menu item, what factor does price play a role, and how does that balance with quality?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, quality-wise, like that's first and foremost. You know, we're always okay with paying a little bit more if it in return is going to get us like a higher quality product. That's like a big emphasis and focus for us, and then charging accordingly for that. And I think like over the last 5 years being open, our client base has come to like kind of understand that, you know, our things may be priced a certain way, but they are getting like that certain standard of quality. Yeah.
So restaurants are notorious for working with pretty thin margins. What should people understand as far as what is factored into prices we see on a restaurant menu?
Yeah, so every time we bring something in, we have to kind of consider, you know, obviously like the cost of the product to get it there and bring it in, and then we're going to factor in like the labor and what that kind of entails as far as like getting the product prepared. And then on top of that too, when we are doing the pricing for that, we always have to factor in our overheads. So, you know, that goes from, you know, paying the bills to breakage to all that kind of stuff of running a spot. Yeah.
So to understand how ingredient cost is factored into that price, like what's the breakdown of these different factors?
Yeah, so for us, our breakdown, I try and always kind of keep our food costs around 30%. So when we are bringing product in, we try and keep that in mind. So, you know, the product itself, we kind of allot 30% of the menu price to getting the product actually there, 30% into labor for staff to prepare the product, and again, get it from like point A to point B. And then the final third of that is our overhead, you know, bills, repairs, all that kind of fun stuff.
Rent, all that.
Yeah.
So how uniform do you need product to be, and how does that impact prep time?
So definitely on like certain items, we want to make sure like the product's uniform. That could be anywhere from like meats and things like that, making sure that cuts are uniform size, so they're going to cook like evenly. If it's ground items, you know, pork, bison, whatever, you know, batch to batch, like the fat content is where it needs to be at, or at least consistent. Things like that. So when we bring things in on our end, you know, our recipes stay somewhat the same. Obviously there's going to be like a little bit of like wiggle room on each side, but having a consistent product in that sense. And then, you know, things like vegetables and produce, having things that are all like roughly the same size, because obviously, you know, we're going to be serving like multiple orders of the same dish. So we want to kind of make sure they're all uniform and consistent.
Awesome. How important is availability throughout the season for you, or ordering from week to week?
Yeah, I think it's like pretty important for us on like some items and not so much on others, but I think that's kind of like something we have to deal with. Dealing with like smaller and local producers is just like understanding that things happen, you know, things out of their control. It could be like different like weather events, it could be bugs, whatever, and sometimes, you know, things are just unavailable. But for the most part, you know, like being able to bring things in for that growing season, for that particular item, and to be able to have it, you know, kind of day to day, week to week, makes our life a lot easier to like plan menus, you know, especially when we're planning ahead for things to come in. If you can kind of see down the pipeline, you know, what to expect and what's coming, to be able to have like those orders filled is huge, right? So.
When you're ordering and you're looking ahead in the season, what information is important for you to have?
I guess like first and foremost would be how long we expect the product to be in season, size of the actual products, at least, you know, an estimate of what to expect. Things that, you know, go into us planning and kind of like forecasting items coming into season, or just being able to like know like size and you know, if there's going to be any supply issues or if that's going to be pretty consistent.
What do you find exciting about working with local suppliers?
Again, like the product itself is usually like second to none for the most part versus like, you know, stuff we're getting from our big box stores or like our, you know, bigger retailers and distributors. But, you know, it's also nice for us time to time being able to like go visit these farmers, being able to kind of like interact with them on a personal level. I think that's a big draw for us. You know, and it's always kind of fun and exciting to see what they're excited about and like what they have coming down the pipeline. And a lot of times, like that's probably our best way into like finding new products and stuff like that is like hearing about what they're excited about or like what they have, you know, coming out of the ground that is showcasing what they do. So yeah, it's always good.
How does Fireweed fit into your operations?
So for us, using Fireweed, kind of been ordering and using them as a supplier pretty much, I think, from day one or the early days at least. And kind of since taking that on and going down that road with Fireweed, you know, it's made things a lot more accessible for us. I'm finding that like I'm having to deal with like a lot less individual farmers and I have like one centralized space to order things, which really like cleans things up on my end, makes them a lot easier, you know, as far as like paying one invoice instead of like multiple, being able to get like kind of 2 delivery days instead of, you know, every day I have a different supplier showing up with something else. And yeah, it just kind of like keeps everything like streamlined and organized for us. And it's been a huge, huge help. And, you know, in the last couple of years, I've been finding like we've been ordering more and more through Fireweed just because, again, it's all like centralized and, you know, big emphasis on like where things are coming from, good explanation of like what farms, what area in the province or whereabouts they're coming from and, you know, what to expect. So, yeah. I think like, again, the farmers and people you're trying to reach out to like know how important it is on the restaurants side of things to like be able to have access to all this great stuff, but it also needs to be like in a simplified way because like we're on my end of things, I'm like extremely busy. Like we're putting out fires all day long, you know.
Sometimes literally.
Yeah, honestly. But, you know, being able to have everything like in one spot and to be able to like just have it set. Like I know like Wednesday, Fridays, I'm getting my deliveries and that's it. That box is checked and we're on to being able to like focus and work on something else.
Nice.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I feel like that's super helpful.
Again, this is just like totally kind of off topic, but going back to how you guys do things is like, I find there's not a lot of like breaks on pricing for larger quantities. So like, that's maybe why it's nice for me to be able to like buy a 5-pound box or something or 10-pound because it's like, well, there isn't that incentive to like
Okay.
buy more of it, right?
Yeah.
But like if you go any, you know, big box kind of real retailer or anything like that, you know, they're basically, you know, a 6-count of celery, for example, it's gonna be, you know, X price and the 24-count is gonna be like slightly more, right? Because it's the repacking and everything like that. Yeah.
Okay. Brent, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate hearing your perspective.
Anytime, man. Appreciate it.
We'd like to take a moment to thank the organizations and individuals who have helped us to make this project happen. First, I'd like to thank Food and Beverage Manitoba for providing generous support to this video project and the larger wholesale readiness project that it's part of. I'd also like to thank the province of Manitoba for their funding and support. We want to thank the Lord Roberts Community Centre for sharing this space with us to film in. And we want to thank the Food Hub's suppliers and customers who have shared their knowledge and experience with us, helping us to evolve and grow throughout this project.